The NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, presented by we are brought to you by the SGPN merch store, because the merch store, you can go and get NBA gear, WNBA gear, tennis gear, all the different types of gear, refs of terrorist gear. All you have to do is use promo code SGPNBA and get 10% off the entire merch store. That is code SGPNBA for 10% off the entire SGPN merch store. Yes, sir. We are back for another edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Know me, know the voice, know the guy. Me, really real, villain real, 12 from Junior here at your service. And I almost committed a cardinal sin. But it's all right because the show goes on. And I mean, yesterday was a good day. There was a lot of things that went well yesterday. There were some things that could have been better, but there was a lot of things that went well yesterday. Got my guy Scott Studio right show with me. Scott, what's going on?
That was a nice save by you during the pre-roll, so respect there. But overall, day was pretty good. Can't complain. Unfortunately, did go 0-2 on the actual lock and dog picks for me. But as for the game predictions, I think we were both on it. I was wrong with the Clippers. I dared Chris Paul to not only beat Scott Foster, but to beat him by margin. And he actually did, as the Suns came back from behind. It looked like it was going to get ugly early, potentially. And there was a bit of a code red situation for Phoenix, but they got back on track and they won the game. Booker was great. He had basically 40 points, and he kind of carried the team. Besides that, though, we were right about the Cavs covering against the Knicks. So we thought that the series would be a long one, and as a result, we thought that Cleveland would respond accordingly in Game 2. I also leaned to Boston to cover in Game 3. I don't remember what the spread was in the first quarter, but Atlanta only lost by 3 in the first quarter, so they might have covered that. I'm not totally sure. But it's the game that I thought would happen. I thought the Hawks would hang around. Boston was the better team, and I just thought Boston would eventually win by enough to potentially cover the full game, but I thought you'd be able to get a decent number live. You probably could have gotten a decent number live midway through the first quarter, but either way, ended up getting the side right there. So once again, could have been a better day for me, could have been worse. Also cashed the Evan Mobley under 14.5 points, which was nice as he had 13 points in 39 minutes. Not going to overreact to one game based on our discussion, but is what it is. I decided to put my money where my mouth was. I took Mobley under, and Mobley went under, so it could have been worse. But yeah, nothing really else to say.
I feel like that doesn't apply to the conversation though.
It might not. That's what I'm saying. Like, there was a poll that got put up
because it was still 55% shooting. It was, at the end of the day, it was still 55% shooting.
It also depends on how you define a bag, though, because a lot of the buckets he had were just either layups or dunks around the rim because of either pick and roll or offensive rebounds. But still, the point is, one game's not going to determine if he has a bag or not. But maybe it felt a little bit nice the game after that. Unlike Kyle Lowry, who goes for 33 after I call him out, Mobley settled for 13 points in 39 minutes. But I'll ask you this simply put. Did you have any takeaways in any of the games, anything that jumped out to you? We're not going to go through every game, because I feel like most of it was straightforward. But did any one thing jump out to you?
Well, just going over the recap so everybody knows exactly, if you're living under a rock, what happened last night. We had the Boston Celtics winning 119-106. They cover as a 10.5 point favorite. And the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely steamrolled over the New York Knicks 107-90. They cover as a 5.5 point favorite. And the Phoenix Suns cover the 8-point line, and Chris Paul gets his first win over Scott Foster in the playoffs since 2013. That is 123-109 in that game. Now, my biggest thing, I think I will have to go to the Suns, because while a lot of things went right for the Suns, there's a lot of things that did not go right for them. What did go right for them, since we'll just start on the positive, what did go right for them is the fact that, I mean, Kevin Durant is so good that you actually have to tell yourself that we have to come off Devin Booker to double team Kevin Durant to make sure he doesn't get a shot off and allow Devin Booker to get an open lane to the basket.
They were literally doubling Durant down double digits with like 2 minutes to go in a scramble drill when Booker already had 36 points.
He
Like
had
it was wild.
35.
It was
He had
wild.
35, and they were playing drop coverage, letting him shoot open threes. Like they really, really did not want Kevin Durant to get going. And I think that might have been one of the funniest things that I've seen. Uh so that went well. The fact that, we know that the offensive unit for the starters is really, really good, and there's probably no reason in stopping that. What did not go well was the fact that they had zero contribution from their bench whatsoever. And Monty Williams really, really needs to figure out that bench rotation and who is coming off the bench at what point to give them a spark. Landry Shamet had a total of 6 points for his total, and it went under because he was 0 for 2. Bismack Biyombo actually contributed something with 6 points and 5 rebounds. Okogie came in and gave you a little bit with 7 points. That is it. Just Okogie and Biyombo. They had a total of 13 bench points in the entire game.
By the way,
That is not sustainable.
The Bismack Biyombo rebounds were a little bit misleading because on two separate occasions he bricked the wide open layup, got his own rebound, and put the ball back in. So he kind of stat padded 2 rebounds there. But yeah, Biyombo was okay last night. But I'm just gonna throw it out there. 2 of those rebounds were because he could not hit a layup and then got his own rebound and scored again. But yes.
Yes, so they need to figure out the guard depth and getting some additional level scoring off of that bench to kind of help aid the starters because I think what Devin Booker played 45 minutes, KD played 44 minutes. They got
That was
like
the
two
main
minutes,
numbers that you had to mention. It was
two
the minutes played.
minutes.
It was the minutes
Yeah.
played that you have to bring up.
And so it's insane. And I think that you have to have a level of trust in your bench unit, but they also have to play to the expectation. So it just seems like there's got to be some type of, maybe you bring Terrence Ross off the bench in when you're going to LA and you allow Terrence Ross to maybe get some minutes off the bench. Maybe you scheme up things for Landry Shamet. Maybe you have an adjusted lineup where Chris Paul is playing with the bench unit. And that way he can help aid that bench unit and be able to get them some levels of scoring. Because as we've seen throughout this series and through his 9 assists last night, I'm pretty sure we mentioned his assists too. Devin Booker has really, really taken, more of a point guard role in bringing the ball up the court and facilitating offense. So, yeah, that's really my biggest takeaways is they have to figure out the bench unit for the Phoenix Suns if I'm going to get Phoenix in 6, not 6, but in 5, like I said.
I'm trying to think of what Phoenix is most likely going to do. Do you start staggering minutes between Booker and Durant and just have each of them have runs with the bench unit? You got to figure
No,
out something.
I just said it.
I know you mentioned
Bring
Chris
Chris
Paul.
Paul. You bring Chris Paul, and because you have Devin Booker who can handle point guard duties because I feel like you got to have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker still out there. That kind of diminishes what you were doing and makes it easier on the Clippers by saying, "Oh, we only got to guard one of these guys at this time." But if you bring Chris Paul with that unit, he has the ability, the playmaking, the floor general likeness that he'll be able to get Landry Shamet to his spot, be able to play a pick and roll with Biyombo, help Okogie be able to get to his spot, and really, really force that bench unit to help get better options at contributing.
Yeah, for me, I find it a little bit fascinating that Phoenix's offense is that bad with the bench unit, and yet TJ Warren, Damian Lee, and Terrence Ross combined to play 5 minutes. It's because Ross didn't play a minute. Does that surprise you at all? I know all those guys aren't the greatest defenders, but at some point, you got to at least try. Like I mentioned it with the Nets, with the 76ers series. At some point, your team just can't score enough, and it's not sustainable what you're currently doing, and you need to kind of sacrifice some defense for offense. I do think that for the Nets case, it was Cam Thomas because they're going to get swept anyway. You might as well try to score. For the Suns, I don't know what you think you're doing with this bench unit, but you need to use Terrence Ross. Like, I don't know why you'd bring him in and why you acquired him during the season if you're not going to let him try to hit some three-pointers for a bench unit that desperately needs scoring. I think that has to be the main adjustment, either him or Warren, because one of them, at least one of them can give you points. Your team can't score anything right now with Durant or Booker being off the floor with Durant, unless Durant plays 45 minutes. And we just saw that he's had several injuries since the ACL injury a couple of years ago. I don't think you want to be using Durant 45 minutes against a team with no Paul George in the first round when you're once again in round one of a potentially long playoff run. You need to try to find some bench scoring. I think you have to, as you said, use Terrence Ross or TJ Warren. You might sacrifice the defense a little bit just to buy an extra couple minutes of rest for Durant and Booker. Do you agree with that or
Uh,
no?
yeah, I mean, I think you need to buy them some rest, but
Because
it,
you
I
mentioned
mean,
Ross. We didn't even mention Warren, who we know can be a competent bench scorer if needed.
yeah, like I said when I started this, he has to figure out his bench rotation and what and who he trusts and how he's going to do it. Because I mean, he's given Landry Shamet 14 minutes recently, and he hasn't done anything. So it's like, all
There is
right, do you
no way
trust?
Shamet should be playing 14 minutes and Ross should be playing zero. I think Shamet's a worse basketball player objectively than Terrence Ross. I don't think Shamet's any good. I've said that for years, but
Hmm, I don't think he's all right. He all right.
I mean, you just
I ain't
said he
got
hasn't
nothing. I
done
don't got
anything in the
nothing against
series.
him.
Yeah.
I don't have nothing against him.
See, I do because he was on the Nets, so I got to watch him a lot. I don't think he's particularly good at basketball, but I think him
He's
and Ross have a similar skill set, but Ross is the better shooter, in my opinion. At least I think Ross is more of a threat because at least Ross can dribble a little bit. Shamet gives you no handle at all. So
that's really my only difference is that I feel like Terrence Ross is somebody that can create his own shot, but playing alongside Chris Paul in the second with the second unit, I think that Landry Shamet would be an asset and play a lot better than what he's done in this series, which is 4 points in game one, 0 points in game two, and a total of 2 for 7 from the field. All right. Before we get into the actual breakdown of tonight, Slate got to talk to you about Underdog Fantasy because the NHL and NBA playoffs are here, and you can get down on player props at Underdog. And you have daily NHL, MLB, and NBA games that you can absolutely tap into. Plus, you have the NFL best ball drafts. With the draft coming next week, you can already start playing NFL best ball and start trying to put together your $500,000 lineup. Head over to underdogfantasy.com and use promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. All right.
well, I do want to ask you one thing before we officially move on, because there's going to be my takeaway that I was going to talk about. Why was Randall on the floor down 25 with 2 minutes to go?
Hmm.
I was going to ask you about it because, we've seen Thibodeau do this exact same thing with Derrick Rose. Different situation because the Bulls were winning and they were trying to drain out the clock, but they were up 10 with about a minute to go. And yet we saw Randall being on the court and a couple other starters. They were down 20 and change. And then Randall took a nasty fall. I don't think it was a dirty play by Jared Allen. He'll get booted MSG anyway. But still, I feel like I have to roast Thibodeau for that. Why is Randall on the floor?
No,
Like,
I don't
I,
know.
I don't I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't have him out there either, but
According to
you
some
know,
reports, he actually wanted to take Randall out of the game, and Randall talked himself into playing more, maybe because he missed a couple weeks and he wanted to try to get some extra minutes. I don't really care. The point is, with Randall missing time recently, he's the last player you should have on the floor playing garbage time minutes in a physical series. I wanted to bring it up because we roasted Thibodeau for the same exact situation, or at least the same problem, using a star player when he didn't need to in the playoffs, like I'd say 10 plus years ago with Derrick Rose. And then Randall got hurt. And we saw that he kind of left early, went to the locker room for his back. We'll see what the story is. I'm assuming he's fine. I wanted to bring it up, though. I just thought it was bizarre that they put Randall in that potential situation when the game was over basically after 3 quarters. I wanted to bring that
uh,
up. So, just food for thought.
all right, let's move on to today's slate, and we have a 3 game lineup of game twos in the NBA. First game on the docket, 7:30 p.m. on the East Coast. We have the Los Angeles Lakers playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies open up as a 1 point favorite. Line has flipped to -1 Lakers. 227 is the total. Injury report here. You have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who are both probable. Dennis Schroeder also probable for this game. And for the Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant is a game time decision with that hand injury. Jake LaRuvia is out. And, we are still not seeing Steven Adams in this series. So Here we have a potential Ja Morant-less Memphis team, where if Ja Morant doesn't play, this line is surely to go to at least 3, maybe 4
I think it's
Lakers.
got to be baked in, doesn't it? I mean, the line has already moved 2.5 points, 3 points. Or unless you think that's
Mm,
solely based on the game one
minus
matchup.
no Ja Morant, and the Lakers are only a -1 favorite.
But I'm saying it opened up as Grizzlies like minus, what was it? Grizzlies minus two
1.
and a half?
They'd open up Grizzlies -1. I see.
I see an opener. I'm using a database, but it said it opened up at minus 2.5. But that might have been like very, very early opening lines or maybe a look ahead line. I don't know. But
Mm, it's no
we'll
way. It's
see.
no way they're not at least a 3-point
Yeah,
dog
I will
if
say
Ja
three to
Morant doesn't
four,
play.
assuming Jaw's out. I think it's somewhat baked in already, but we'll go 3 or 4.
Hmm. All right, who do you like?
So first of all, I will apologize to some people here because I might have been wrong about this series. I leaned to Memphis, and I thought that 130 was an absurd price for a team that was this good at home. But I forgot that home court advantage doesn't matter in the playoffs anymore. So the Lakers, of course, won game one, despite Memphis being a very good home team. I knew AD was going to be good in the series, and then you had the injury, and you thought the Lakers season was over, and then he came back after halftime, and he dominated again in the second half. The problem that I have with Memphis is how game one unfolded and why I think the Lakers now. I've completely pulled the 180. I think the Lakers are going to win the series. I just have such a hard time trusting Memphis when LeBron can sit in the corner for the entire fourth quarter and do nothing, and you can't stop an Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis pick and roll for 7 minutes. LeBron did nothing the entire fourth quarter, and you still got torched. It was a really, really big problem for Memphis. And Ja was able to get to his spots. He had a good game. I knew Anthony Davis would look good. I didn't think he'd look that good. That was one of the most dominant defensive performances I've seen in a playoff game in a while, which just tells you how good Anthony Davis is at defense, which is an obvious statement. But I feel like with all the injuries and all the time, with in between, is he hurt? Is he healthy? What's the story? People forget how good he is as a defensive player. Like Jaren Jackson was voted defensive player of the year in between games one and two. And Anthony Davis, or maybe it was right before game one, Anthony Davis looked like he was 2 times better at defense than Jaren Jackson was. That's how good Anthony Davis is at really shutting down everything. The thing is, Memphis needs to bring it, and the Lakers can afford, in theory, to take a game off and maybe just go back home for game three. My question for you is, do you think that Reeves and Rui can duplicate a game like that? Or do you think that it doesn't really matter because Ja's probably not going to play and they'll beat Memphis anyway? But yes, I
Um,
apologize. I might have been on the wrong horse there of the series leading to Memphis. But that's for the
um,
series. I'll ask you this for game two.
well, Benedict Scott here has already flipped his pick
No,
in one
I
game.
said I might have. I said I might have been wrong, but
No,
I'm just kidding.
no, you flipped that whole monologue that you
Yeah,
just
yeah,
gave was
I
you
flipped.
literally
I
said I
flipped.
did a
I flipped. Yeah,
180. That
yeah,
is
yeah, I
a
flipped.
flip.
I flipped. Yeah, I flipped.
Benedict Scott has
I'm like
already
half
flipped.
trolling. Yeah, I did flip. I did flip.
He's already flipped for the series. Okay, so I will stay true into me saying that I think that Memphis is good, and I think Memphis can absolutely still win this series because and the only thing that I regret is that I gave out Memphis in game one, knowing that Memphis sucks in game ones. And you look at the two series that they played last year, they lost a game one at home to Minnesota.
Yeah,
Like,
they did.
that says enough for me already,
They kind of got
and that
buried in
gives
that game
me,
underratedly.
huh?
They kind of got buried in that game underratedly. They
They
trailed the
did.
entire way in that game.
Yeah, they did. This final score was actually 130, 117.
Yeah.
And so I sitting here and we think about one that how bad they are in game ones and the potential of Ja Morant being out of this game. And I'm just sitting here saying that we've seen them win playoff games without Ja Morant before. I'll say that. And it's because of the fact that they play a lot more free. And that's how some teams kind of do play without their star. And it just depends on, if you're a team like the Nuggets where you're actually trash without your star, or if you're a team that actually has a lot of good pieces around their team. And it's the fact of they can spread the ball a lot more often. They have other guys to give the ball to. They have a lot more scoring that I expect to see a lot a lot more efficient scoring. Not saying that I see more scoring, but a more efficient scoring from Memphis in this game. And so I'm not changing my horse. I think that I told myself that, hey, if Ja doesn't play in the next game, I don't think that it's an automatic win for the Lakers. I'm pretty sure we've seen this Memphis team beat the Lakers without Ja before, actually. And it's all going to come depend on those extra guys, the Luke Kennard, who's probably going to get more minutes off the bench with John Morant out. The Desmond Bain, we've seen him not only be able to shoot the three, but be able to drive to the basket, score, and get to the basket. And Tyus Jones and how much of a playmaker he is and just how well he plays with this unit as a whole, like not just the bench players, but the starters as well. He plays really, really well with this unit. He's a really, really good point guard and starting to get to the point where I feel like in terms of just being a floor general, he's one of the best backup point guards in the league.
I
And
think he's good
so,
enough to start on a couple teams. But
yeah, for sure. And so I don't think that this is just a runaway Lakers easy pick and keep it moving. I actually think that Memphis can steal game two here with or without John Morant. And so, I mean, it's kind of crazy to say steal with John Morant. So without John Morant, even if John Morant doesn't play, I feel like they can steal game two here. I'm waiting and I'm just waiting for the John Morant news because I know I'm going to get a better line on
I
Memphis,
don't think
but I'm
Morant's going to
taking
play.
Memphis. Yeah, no, but I'm still waiting because I know I'm going to get a better line when he's officially ruled out. So I probably won't place this bet until before game time and get plus money on Memphis. But I think Memphis still wins the game. I think that they have a better defensive game. I think that they are able to kind of help plug in some of the holes. Maybe Anthony Davis continues to get his, but Reeves and Rui and that monstrosity that happened between those two, I don't think that happens again. And I think that it's a little bit tougher for the Lakers. So I like Memphis.
So here's the thing. I might have had a Benedict situation, but that was for the series. I never mentioned what I thought for game two. I apologize for my series prediction, which I think is just off. I am taking Memphis tonight. I do think that if Memphis loses this game, I think they're getting swept. I'll tell you that right now. I think Memphis, if they lose this game, they're completely shot. I think they got no chance in hell to make a series out of it if they lose this game. I think they'll respond accordingly. I do think they'll be able to have a better effort. I think Tyus Jones does give them good decision making. The problem is going to be Anthony Davis destroying everything in the paint because he's so good defensively. He had what, 7 blocks, 8 blocks
Mm-hmm.
in game one. He was incredible. But I am going to lean Memphis in game two. It's a game they need to have. They're still a good home team. And as you said before, when you see some star players occasionally being out, you see other guys step up. And Memphis is accustomed to being without Ja because of his play style and the fact that he's gotten injured before, and they have been pretty good in the playoffs or not without him. So I agree with you. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to wait for a better number because I don't think Ja is going to play. Good news for him, though, not having a break in his finger. But still, I'm going to lean Memphis in this game. I'm going to wait till it gets to 3 or 4, and then I'll take it. But my main pivot was the series. I am going to pick Memphis in game two. If they don't, do you agree with me that they're probably getting swept? Do you think they can respond mentally to losing their first 2 games at home and now traveling to Crypto or Staples, whatever you want to call it, to face off against LeBron and AD down 2-0 with a compromised John Morant? I think they're done if they lose this game.
I don't think they're getting swept, but I mean, it's kind of hard to pick a team down 0-2, losing both games at homes to win the series.
That's my
So,
point. I think
yeah,
Memphis does respond. I think the Lakers, once again, they're going to put together a good effort. I'm not saying they're going to roll over, but I do think the Lakers at times might be a little bit lethargic, or maybe they're not willing to fully lay it on the line because they already got a game that they needed to have on the road. I can see Memphis winning the urgency battle and them sneaking out a win. So I agree with you on your breakdown. My main pivot was the series.
Wham trying to get me over to the dark side. Wham, you know I'm a Bron guy, so I'm really like, I'm never really off that side. I'm never really off that side. If Bron make it to the next round, I'm always gonna be happy. But I don't know, man. This Memphis team just seemed petty enough to knock Bron out the playoffs and then go crazy like they won the championship. So I'm still rolling with my guys. Them have been my guys all year. I got to roll with Memphis. I can't turn on my guys now. It's a parade inside my city. Yeah. Where's the
I'm more of a
He
whoop that
quotes
trick
a
kind of
rap
guy.
lyric.
But
It's a parade inside my city. Yeah. And it
all right.
that drip
Total
day.
total. Yeah, that was Skip Bayless.
Yeah. Drip Bayless, I think you mean.
Yeah, right. Just because you
Yeah.
put Jordans on don't mean he got dripped. I'm
But he's
sorry.
undefeated, and he never lost in the Jordans or something.
Yeah, all right.
Whatever. Yeah.
So, Scott,
Skip.
as I was trying to talk about the total dropped another half a point. It is now down to 226.5 in most shops, opened up at 227.5. I think that I've already locked in at 227, not gonna lie. And I'm just gonna fade the fact that you got two guys coming off. Well, no, Reeves started actually, but still, you got two non-essential scorers scoring 20 plus points, one almost scoring 30. I am fading that happening again. I think that is, game two unders pretty good so far. I like this one to have a little bit better defensive intensity. Memphis understands that this is really like a must-win game, and they've been a good defense all year. So I think that they get back to that, lock back in with that. They have a defensive player of the year and somebody who could honestly win a defensive player of the year in the future. So I will take the under 226.5.
I'm on the under as well. We think Ja's not going to play, and one thing about Memphis, whether they're better or not without Ja, they do play a lot more methodically offensively, and they play slower because they need to. Ja's a one-man fast break, so you know that he can always get out and go, get a rebound or a turnover. They're pushing. They're not going to push if Ja's out, or at least not as much as you might think that they will. Tyus Jones, a very good point guard, but he's very, very good at decision making and mostly in pick and roll situations. So I really can see Memphis playing more in the half court with John not being in the lineup. And the Lakers, they can run or they can play in the half court. I see a much more physical game. We saw the Lakers and the Grizzlies kind of run against each other, and I thought the Lakers were better at it in game one. I think the main pivot is that I think Memphis has to be more physical, and I think they kind of have to kill the pace a little bit. But from my main takeaway was that the Lakers in game one really just seemed to get whatever they wanted in transition, and it seemed like the Grizzlies, either it was just bad switching or bad defensive assignments. It seemed that they were out of position all the time defensively.
Mhm.
I think that's the main adjustment they're going to make. They might live and die by Rui again for a quarter, and if he makes shots, then maybe they'll get out and contest them. But I do agree there's some regression there with how good the role players played for the Lakers. I think that probably balances itself out, but it's most of the pace. I've seen Memphis without Ja. They don't play fast. I can really see more of a half-court battle here, and I think this game's actually going to easily go under. I see it being a relatively lower scoring game. I think
Mhm.
you're going to see both teams really try to clog up the middle. I think you'll see one, if not both, these offenses go through dry spells because of it. I'm going to back the game 2 under trend, which I believe went 2-1 yesterday. I'm going to go with the under as well. I think you'll see a lower scoring game.
All right, here. Let's get into props. Anything that you're eyeing for game two?
So for props, I feel like the main options are going to be Memphis step up guys. So you're looking at Tyus Jones points or assists, or maybe points and assists. I'm going to call out Desmond Bane. I don't mind Bane 3-pointers. He's going to get most of the shots if Morant's not going to play. Like Tyus can shoot, but he's mostly a facilitator.
Mhm.
Jaren had 30 plus in game one. So I'm assuming that the Lakers' main defensive adjustment is going to be doing a better job containing Jaren Jackson. Mostly when LeBron's guarding him, because LeBron got absolutely cooked by Jaren Jackson the entire game. But I do think the main guy who's going to have to step up is going to be Desmond. Because I thought in game one, he had a hot stretch there in the second and third quarter. The rest of the game, really not great. I thought he was fine, but it was mostly a few minutes there where he really, I don't want to say padded his numbers, but his numbers ended up being inflated for the entire game because of a very nice, like 7-8 minute stretch. I like Bane threes. I thought the Lakers did an okay, not great job of trailing him off ball, and he did have a
Mhm.
couple of open looks. Reeves had a very nice block from behind on one of those 3-pointers. But you're looking at Bane, and he was 6 for 18, 3 for 10 from 3. So the volume's there. That was with Ja playing. And if Ja's not going to play, I think Bane's going to play 40 plus minutes because he played 37 minutes in game one. And I do think that he will be more aggressive with it. I like Bane over, and I like Bane threes. I think assuming Ja's out, we've seen him when he's out, that Bane takes it to heart to be more aggressive. I do think you will see the Lakers do a better job against Jaren Jackson. So by trickle down theory, I'm looking at Bane. So I like Bane over in this game.
All right. Let's see here. There's a number of different ways that I want to go here. I'm looking at some rebound props right now, and I don't see my guy Santi Aldama listed yet, but last time he was at 4.5. I'll take him again because Xavier Tillman isn't really that good to me.
He also kind of has to play because you're thinking of who the Grizzlies even have now with the four. Because Stillman barely plays, as you said. They really don't have many guys. You're looking for floor spacers. You can't throw out Roddy out there. You can a little bit, maybe. Lofton, shout out to him for his G League performances, but I don't know if you can use him in a playoff series. They don't have enough floor spacers from a power forward or small forward perspective. So Aldama kind of has to play, even though I really didn't think he looked that great in game one. They really don't have many other options.
Oh, he'll have his bounce back, and I mean, he's had big games when Ja and players have been out the lineup before. So Sensi Aldama he's one of the best kept secrets. He just isn't consistent, but he's a best kept secret. All right, back to the rebound prop. So yeah, I'll be looking at him whenever they drop his line. I'll probably get down on his threes too. I'm not gonna lie. And where is my guy? Jaron Vanderbilt is at 5.5 rebounds at plus 110. Now, Jaron Vanderbilt has played in the regular season the Memphis Grizzlies 5 times. Why? Because he got traded and Memphis was still on the schedule. So in the 5 meetings in the regular season he's had against the Memphis Grizzlies, 7, 7, 8, 8, 8. He's covered it in all 5 of those meetings this season. And last game he had 4 and 4. He actually had a 4 for 4, if we being honest. A 4 for 4, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 4 fouls. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and fade that he doesn't drop another 4 for 4 this time around. And with and under a game, we get a lot more misses. We have a lot more rebounding opportunities. Anthony Davis has shown a more committed side to defense. So I think that Vanderbilt will be in position for a lot of those rebounds, especially if it coming off of any type of block or anything from Anthony Davis. So I'm going Vanderbilt here over 5.5 rebounds plus 110. I actually really, really like that play today. I think this is a good bounce back spot for him on the boards.
I like LeBron over 8.5 rebounds. I think the pace will be slower. So once again, you're not going to have as much of a, probability won't be in your favor compared to game one because the pace was definitely a lot higher than what I'm expecting in this game. But LeBron did a good job on the boards, and I do think that he can once again just do a good job of fending off either Aldama or whoever Memphis is going to use as their normal lineup to get some rebounds. I do want to ask you, though, about Vanderbilt. I wanted to point this out. I think that Vanderbilt's in a good spot to grab more rebounds because in game one, you might remember that he was guarding Ja on ball for most of the game when he was in, which took him away from the paint. So assuming Ja's out, Vanderbilt can now free roam a little
I mean,
bit
we're
more.
not putting him on Tyus Jones. That's not what we're doing. So
I'm
yeah,
assuming
I like
he'll be in the paint more because he had to be taken away from the basket to guard Ja.
Yeah, I agree. And that's also gonna help us with our under too a lot. Cause I like that. So now does that make me wanna does that do I really wanna what is his points total versus them in those 5 games?
You're considering a
7,
double-double?
7, 12, 4, 5. Okay. All right. Well, maybe I hate when I have an idea and I don't do it because when I don't do it is when it happens.
You mean the double-double play?
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned it with the Conquo yesterday. I like the idea in
No, we were there. We was almost there.
I know.
Oh my god.
I didn't think he'd get there, but I like the idea in principle.
Pissed? He had 8 and 9. He had 8 and 9.
I know. He was almost there. I didn't think he'd get there, but it was such a good value
rebound
play.
and put back. One more offensive rebound put back. We have the double-double. It's 12-1. We're on the moon. Oh,
I'm just gonna say I don't think Vanderbilt gets there tonight. It is 22-1. So 22-1 is, it's not bad. But I think I'd rather take an alt line for rebounds on Vanderbilt if I had to pick a side there, or maybe parlay rebounds with blocks or something, or steals. I don't think he's going to score, but the rebounds could be there, so you might be able to get a decent alt line on rebounds.
Yeah,
just kind of like a compromise.
I don't see, and it's because Ja's availability isn't for certain.
They're not giving you any information.
on. I'm talking about Tyus, but we're on Tyus Jones props, assist props.
I think I
His
have to.
his double is gonna be like plus 125, 130. Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna have excuse me, his assist prop pretty high. So other than that, I don't have anything else. Nothing else I'm really targeting that
Yeah,
I know of right
me
now.
neither. I thought about maybe D'Angelo threes because he was awful for the first quarter and change, but he was actually really good the last couple of quarters there. He might
Mhm.
have found his rhythm. He faced off against the same exact defense last year. Maybe D'Angelo Russell threes might be worth a look because we're looking for who can potentially step up for the Lakers supporting cast. We think that Rui and Reeves, or one of them, will come back down to earth. I think Russell might be a decent candidate to maybe go for like 18 points. I can see some threes for Russell.
All right. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store in honor of the NBA playoffs. We are giving you till the end of April 10% off anything in the merch store. You can get a Refs or Terrorist shirt. You can get an NBA Gambling Podcast shirt. You can get whatever you want. Just head over to store.sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Use promo code SGPNBA and get 10% off the merch store. That is SGPNBA. All right. Next game on the slate, we have the Miami Heat going to play the Milwaukee Bucks. Heat lead the series 1-0. And this line has actually gone through the moon and back. It opened up at 6 and went up as high as 9 when there was good news about Giannis after the game. And then it came out that Giannis was doubtful again, and it went all the way back down to 6. Now it's at 6.5. 219 is the total. That's come down a point. And I have to get my injury report. Give me a second.
Hero is one wrist. So okay. I mean, I like the GameCube theme song, but
Here we go. We have the injury report. Kyle Lowry questionable for the Miami Heat, and Tyler Hero. He broke his hand. He is done for the rest of the series. And
they really made him shoot a 3 with a broken wrist.
yeah, he really I think it was actually like 2 fingers he broke.
Either way, point is, he
did. He did.
3.
Like they passed him the ball, and he shot up 3. And I was actually watching, and I'm like, "Huh, is this going in?"
We
And
thought it went in. It was that Ariza play from a couple of years ago where it looked like it went in, but it was actually short.
Yeah.
I also want to point out, by the way, that Lowry scored 33 points in that one game I took the under, and he's had 7 combined points in the 2 games since. I'm kind of pissed about it. Just going to throw it out there. I'm kind of pissed.
Giannis is doubtful with that back injury. Wesley Matthews is also out with the calf. So Bobby Portis season.
Yeah.
And everybody else season. Okay.
Well, it'd be Middleton and Holiday if you're just expecting it. Middleton with a casual 30 piece in game 1.
He played very, very well. He stepped up to the occasion. All right. minus 6.5 for the Bucks tonight.
This line looks so dumb that I have to lean to Milwaukee. This line, you can argue, doesn't make any sense. Because Miami won game 1. We're assuming that Giannis is not going to play. They looked solid. Butler was the best player on the floor in game 1. I don't think it was very close. I think it was close. But still, the fact that Milwaukee's still favored by 6.5 is really interesting to me. And I think this might be our first trap line of the playoffs where I'm assuming the public will be all over Miami. Because Miami won game 1. You're getting 6.5 with Butler. And Milwaukee's going to be without their best player, who's an MVP finalist.
This could be wrong, but I still see a bunch of the money on Milwaukee.
Really? Okay, that I find fascinating. Unless the argument's they're a 1 seed, so we're just going to pick them anyway. I see the same thing. I find that fascinating that so many people are just willing. I know we roasted Miami all season long, so I guess that's what I understand about it. But I figured the public after game 1 would just be all over Miami money line, just saying, "Oh, Giannis is their best player. They weren't good without him in game 1. I'll take Miami anyway." The Hero injury is big. What do? Do you start giving Oladipo minutes? You got to find some way to try to,
Oladipo's
deal
been
with.
okay.
But the point is, you're going to rely more on Vincent and Strus, and I figured you're going to have to throw somebody out there. They threw Duncan Robinson out there for a couple minutes in game 1. I don't see that happening in game 2. But still, I think I'm going to lean Milwaukee. This line looks very, very sketchy. And I still think Milwaukee is a good team without Giannis. we've seen them without Giannis a decent amount of the regular season, so they're accustomed to playing without him. I'm expecting a very good game from Holiday, from Middleton, and from Portis. Portis I love in this game. I love everything Portis related in this game. I think they'll do a better job defensively on Butler, and I'm hoping Miami, once again, does not shoot the lights out. I got to read off the stats, by the way, for game one, because these shooting percentages are absolutely nuts, which is why the game ended up landing 247. So Miami on the road in game one, with or without Giannis playing. Just to read this off, Miami shot 59.5% from the floor and 60% from three. 60 on the road. I don't see that happening again. I'm on Milwaukee and I'm on the under. 59.5% from the floor and 60% from three on the road? It makes sense Milwaukee lost if your opponent shoots like that. You're not going to lose many games shooting like that.
So, I mean, it very well could be a trap. But I mean, in the 2 games that Giannis didn't play against the Heat this season, they lost. And the 2 games that he did play, they won. Granted, the games that he didn't play were also on the road. But again, it's Miami at home. So, I mean, Miami covered both of those games as a home favorite too. That's really, really hard to do. If it's a trap, I'm dead. I'm gonna go Miami. I mean, I think Milwaukee probably still finds a way to win the game, but am I just gonna go ahead and say that this is into 3 possession territory without Giannis?
I'm just concerned that if Butler has, I don't want to say an off game, but let's say Butler only gives you 25 instead of 35. What is Miami's supporting cast now with Hero being out? What do they have to actually score the basketball? Adebayo is better in the second half. I still think we don't exactly trust Adebayo in a game-in, game-out basis in the playoffs. You're going to be relying on Strus and Vincent, and that's basically it as your supporting cast. But they don't have anybody. Hero's a big piece for them.
Very good.
That could be the reason why Milwaukee's still a hefty favorite, because if Butler doesn't go nuclear, they don't have anybody.
You're actually swaying me again because I do trust Milwaukee scoring everywhere else outside. Wow. Yeah. Am I really about to trust Duncan Robinson in 2023?
Oladipo legacy game? They really have no.
No, Oladipo has been a really good.
Oladipo's given them good minutes in the past, but
yeah.
I'm just saying he's been healthy and he still hasn't exactly played much. So it seems like Spoelstra doesn't fully trust him, but we'll see.
All right, you swayed me. I'll give it out. Milwaukee minus 6.5. But my favorite play is on the total. I love this under.
I'm on the under.
I love this under. I've already bet the under at 219. I've already bet it. It's in my pocket. So I absolutely love this under. I couldn't even fathom to explain the amount of regression offensively that the Heat were gonna have just on their own. And now you took, their second best scorer out of the occasion.
I can't even think of the last time I saw a team shoot roughly 60 and 60 in a playoff game. That's like unprecedented territory, especially on the road.
And I mean, like I said, I think that was when I talked about it. I said I felt like in the recap that they came out with the force and a vengeance of saying this is not going to be like last time. And it very much wasn't. They shot 60% and made sure that they got at least one win. Of course, Giannis is going to affect the scoring on Milwaukee's side of ball and things. And Milwaukee is going to slow everything down. They're going to play through Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez today. As you know, it's been a pretty hefty trend with Giannis being out. They've really, really trust Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis a lot with Giannis being out. So I think that it's going to be a lot slower of a pace game. I think that both of these teams, 2 teams, are probably going to get into each other defensively a little bit. This under was just a automatic bet for me as soon as I saw the line come out. And the sharps agree. 64% of the bets, 84% of the money on the under. Smooth, and they pushed that under down a point. So
I'm contemplating if I prefer the full game under or the Heat team total under. Because I think the
I
Heat
think
might get bottled up in this game. So
I think that you get both.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you can come through and get both. All right. Props. What do you like prop wise?
Do you think Milwaukee starts doubling Jimmy Butler? Like, are we
Mm,
in a spot where Butler might attempt 24 shots because they don't have a good supporting cast? Somebody's gonna have to shoot. Are we
mhm.
expecting just a massive volume game from Jimmy Butler?
Massive volume. Is it as efficient? No.
Doesn't need to be at 35 in game one. That's why I'm kind of asking. You have some room, you have some wiggle room there.
What's his prop at?
Let me just pull that up.
He is at 28.5. Yikes.
That is, I mean, it makes sense. It's inflated.
I'm playing under. I'm playing under 28.
I think I'd lean under there. That number is a bit high, but I am going to mention that I do think he might get a lot of usage per se. I think my favorite play with Butler is going to be assists. If I had to pick one play there, it's at 6.5 at plus money. And I understand that I mentioned Miami might struggle scoring, but Hero is one of their main ball handlers. And you mentioned that Lowry's not questionable. So is Butler going to play point guard for about like 60% of this game?
At least for the most part. I mean, Kyle Lowry's been questionable every single game, so that really doesn't mean anything. He's just going
Once
to be
again, he
questionable
scored
in
7
plays.
points combined the last 2 games. So
but
I don't
he's
think
not.
Lowry's much of a factor anyway.
I mean, in terms of having another ball handler on the court, absolutely, but not in terms of scoring. So, Butler's 6.5 at plus 115 ish. I see. I actually, yeah, that sounds like a pretty solid play for me. It's just my only issue with taking it, and the reason that I probably am not going to take it, and why the under is juiced to minus 155 is who the fuck is he passing the ball to, and is 100% making a shot.
Yeah, I understand that. I'll ask you this, though, since it's a guy you don't like, but I'm going to bring it up. I know we both don't trust Adebayo to score. However, his assist numbers at 3.5 at minus 125. He had 7 in game 1, but once again, they couldn't miss from the actual floor. I'm trying to think of what Miami's going to really do. And Adebayo, even when he doesn't shoot, and you could argue that's a good thing because he's constantly looking to pass the ball to guys. 7 assists in game 1, 3.5 for game 2. He's going to have the ball in his hands more from a creation perspective, right? Because Hero's out. Would you consider Adebayo assists or no? 3.5 feels a little bit low.
I would say yes, but I don't bet Bam Adebayo props, so
Fair enough.
no comment.
I figured you just don't back rebounds and points. I figured passing would be right up your alley because he's afraid to shoot the ball.
No, because I've actually Bam was actually on a streak where he was getting steals like every single game, and I backed a Bam steals prop one time, and he did absolutely nothing. So I am not backing Bam Adebayo whatsoever. I'm just
Actually, you know what? I am going to mention another Adebayo prop. Give me the under 20.5 points. 20.5? Really? I'm on the under. That's inflated because of his very good second half where Milwaukee could not guard anybody. But now with Hero being out, I think Milwaukee's going to be able to really hone in on the main 2 guys for Miami. Give me Adebayo under. 20.5. It's a really large number. I'm on the under.
Bam had in the 2 games without Giannis at home, Bam had 24 and 20.
But I thought we always assume he's going to look worse in the playoffs. He had 22 last game, but once again, Milwaukee's defense was atrocious in that game. I think they'll look a lot sharper. And he really was bad for about the first 2 quarters, and then he woke up and had a good run there in the 3rd and 4th, but it just felt like Milwaukee's defense was totally out of sorts. I think they'll look better. The pace is going to slow down. Miami, once again, scored 130 points, and he scored 22. If we're expecting Miami to score like 105 or 107, I don't think Adebayo gets to 21. I'm on the under, in my opinion. But
all right, and for my last prop, let me just go ahead and pull this up so people can remember how much of that is the wrong thing. Oh man, hold on. Give me a second, people.
are you a big Nintendo guy?
So,
Just curious.
Brook Lopez game log without Giannis. How far back do we want to go here? All right,
We'll go
26.
3 years.
26 points. Okay. 26 points, 24 points, 19 points, 24 points, 26 points, 22 points, 10 points, 19 points, 19 points. That is what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and 13 points there. That's 10. His points prop is listed tonight at probably way too low. 15 and a half. Again, last 10 games without Giannis. 26 points, 24 points, 19 points, 24 points, 26 points, 22 points, 10 points, 19 points, 19 points, 13 points. That is 8 of the last 10 games without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Brook Lopez has gone over this total and over this total by a pretty decent margin.
By the way, Lopez for 20 points is plus 220.
And yes. So he's found his stride over the course of this season. And this is all this season stats, by the way. Over the course of this season, as time's gone on, especially after the All-Star break, he has found his stride playing a lot better without Giannis. So that's something I've been backing. I'm just going to continue to back it. Brook Lopez playing without Giannis Antetokounmpo over 15 and a half points. We know I'm on my guy, Bobby Portis. I'm never not going to play Bobby Portis. So whenever they release his stuff, I think they're just kind of waiting to see if he's in the starting lineup or not. But whenever they release his stats, I will probably be on Bobby Portis as well. And Drew Holiday assist.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Holiday assists, I feel like I was going to mention double-double there. He had a very good showing in game one, passing the ball. He's going to have the ball more. Do you want to make an argument for Middleton? Or you want to just, or you think that maybe they'll focus on Middleton and maybe Holiday has himself a good game?
No, I think Middleton's if you like Middleton, I think Middleton's a good play. It's just somebody I didn't plan on targeting, but
yeah.
What's his points total? I mean, he probably
Middleton's.
I just think it's an under game, so I'm not really like going to take too many point total overs, but
Middleton's at 22 and a half. Holiday's at 20 and a half.
All right. Last game on the slate, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves going to play the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are laying 8.5 in this game. 222.5 is the total injury report here for these two teams. And we have for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Rudy Gobert's questionable, Jalen Noel's questionable. Jake McDaniels is done. And for the Nuggets, looky here. Nikola Jokic is on the injury report, questionable with the wrist injury.
Sure. Okay.
Participated in practice Tuesday, didn't do shooting drills. He's not concerned about the wrist injury. He's playing through it.
I'm just going to be straightforward here. From what we saw in game one and from what we expected to see in this series, do we think Minnesota can keep it close in really any of these games? I just feel like Denver's going to kill them. Minnesota, the chemistry's not there. They have a hard time scoring, especially late in games. Jokic didn't even need to do much in game one, statistically speaking, and they still dominated. It just felt like Denver realized after the first quarter, we just know everything they're doing. And that was, I don't know if you saw that. Did you hear the Caldwell Pope comments?
No, I missed that. What did he say?
So I forgot who they asked. I think it was Cat. They asked him, what Denver did defensively. And Cat basically said they knew everything we were going to do, and they were ready for everything we were going to do. And they asked Caldwell Pope about it, and he basically said straight up, we knew everything they were going to do. We knew exactly where they were going to be. We knew what sets they were going to run. We knew everything. So Cat was mind blown that Denver scouted their entire offense in the last 3 days. But still, the point is Denver proved defensively they can handle this particular matchup because the spacing with Gobert is off. Kyle Anderson's not a great shooter either. There's no spacing. Edwards is battling an elbow injury or whatever he's dealing with. And once again, Jokic didn't have to do much, and they still dominated and won the game by roughly 30. I think Denver kills them. Like I mentioned it before. Maybe it's not the case with the Lakers because they're a play-in team that might actually win their series. But I mentioned before, most play-in teams, they look pretty good for one game, and they get buried in the first round. Hawks are probably going to get swept or lose in 5. I think the same thing's probably going to happen here. I like Denver. I think Minnesota's really got nothing to offer in the series, at least for me. Not to mention the fact I don't like them as a team. Give me Denver at home -8. I just think they win by double digits again.
Mine's 8.5.
Okay, I saw a couple 8s, but fine, 8.5 anyway. I think Denver wins by 12 plus.
I am on Minnesota in this one. I took Denver last game, and I am on to Minnesota because I think that they're. I didn't know those comments. I didn't hear those comments, but
It was really funny.
if they knew everything they were doing last game, then just don't do what you did last game and do something completely different. Actually, don't even have a plan. Just go in there and just play random basketball like you've done majority of the year. And you'll probably have a lot better of an input. At the end of the day, I do not trust Denver defensively. I don't think that they have the matchups where if Carl Anthony Towns' head is out of his ass, that he cannot go out here and have a 30-piece game. Like, I just don't see that happening. And I think that this was a very, very rash adjustment of Cat's points prop. We'll talk about that in a second. But I truly think that if Finch is any type of a decent head coach, there's no possible way that they don't find ways to score the basketball today. Like, you put up 80 points in the
They put up
playoff.
80 flat. 80. They scored
Yeah.
less than 24 points in every quarter in
Yeah.
2023.
Against the Nuggets at that, like, it's pretty.
Less than 24 points in every quarter.
And so, I'm just very, very. I'm hesitant, but I think that I don't think they win, but I think it's a lot closer of a game. It's one of those games where Minnesota probably ends up playing a lot better and probably holds the lead and feels comfortable about themselves. And then in the second half, they just completely blow it and end up giving up the lead like they've done before when I've had Minnesota money line against the Denver Nuggets. So I am not going to take a Minnesota money line, but I do think that 8.5 is a little bit too much points for what can only be a better game. Like, there is no way you can play any worse than you did the last go round. And I'm not putting a lot of stock into the Jokic wrist injury, but
You're
he
bringing it
has
up.
had he has had a wrist injury before this season, and his usage did go down before this season. So that is something to consider. But yeah, no, I'm really good on taking. I really didn't want to lay the points that time, and I'm glad I did because I made the right decision. But this time, I feel like it's a spot where Minnesota makes this a closer game. This is more of a 4 or 5 point loss. They're down 0-2 going back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I like Denver and I like the under in this game. The under I still like because Minnesota can't exactly run. And offensively, once again, I don't think they're a good offensive unit at all. Denver's done a very good job of pre-switching, where they get Jokic briefly involved in a pick and roll, and then they'll immediately switch out, and they actually have done a pretty good job of handing off responsibilities. And that's something that they've been implementing for the last couple of weeks, which has worked out pretty well. But still, I do think that at the end of the day, Minnesota is just not a very good basketball team. And you said if Finch is a decent coach, they'll make adjustments. That's the issue. I don't think Finch is a good coach. I've been pretty public about this for a while. The amount of blown leads they had, the lack of overall adjustments in the middle of games, I don't think Finch is particularly good. So I think they're going to get buried again, and I think Denver wins this game by probably 12 plus. Tony, I understand your point of teams making adjustments after every loss, but at some point you see a matchup like the Celtics and the Hawks where you can make all the adjustments you want, but one team is clearly better than the other, and it's not even close, that you can make all the adjustments you want, but you're still going to lose. I see that being the case here. I just think Denver is light years better than this team, and I think they'll show it at home. So I'm going to go with Denver. I like the under in this game, though. I think it's going to be relatively ugly.
Give me Minnesota first half plus 198. 200 plus 200. Why did I say that? Plus 200. Yeah.
Once again, though, adjustments are important, but you got to at least acknowledge that the talent disparity in some of these matchups is so alarming that you can make all the adjustments in the world that might not make a difference. I think this might be one of those series.
I think it's I think it's going to be top heavy. And Anthony Edwards might will himself into a good game finally, and Cat realizes that he's the third best center in the league finally. And so I'm giving Minnesota
in the league, but
huh?
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one. I got to think of all the centers in the league, but
I mean, just off the. I mean, Jokic, Embiid, and who else is more of a gifted scorer than Cat?
But you didn't say gifted score. You just said third best center. Are you talking about offensively? Are you talking about overall? What are you talking
I
about?
mean, I was focused on the offensive in this aspect.
Offensively, he can't really score as well. You can argue Sabonis for playmaking if you want to make an argument, but once again, that's an
Mm,
argument.
yeah, Cat's the third best scoring center in the
I
league.
would not put Cat in my top 3 at all. Talent wise, sure. Mentally, absolutely not. I
I
would not put
mean,
him in my top 3.
but I feel like that's what I just said. Like, if he gets his head out of his ass, he's one of the top 3 centers in the league.
I mean,
I feel
sure.
like you're doing a lot to disagree with me here.
I'm just saying that's a big if. That's a big if. Cat mentally's checked out a lot in big games. I'm just going to throw that out there. So I don't trust Cat in this spot. That's the short way of putting it.
Okay, how would you like me to change the statement? Talent-wise, Cat is the third best center in the league. I feel like
But
that's
then
the
you said
same thing I
offensively
said.
talented, and I mean,
I feel
yeah,
like that's the same thing I
talent-wise,
said.
sure. Okay, we can agree on that point.
All right, moving on to player props for this one. Yeah, I'm on the under. Player props for this one. What do you have?
I like Jokic under. You mentioned the wrist injury, but also we've seen a lot of these games this year from Jokic where he really doesn't need to score. He can dominate the entire game just by spacing out the defense and making good reads. I don't think Jokic with a bad wrist is going to jack up a bunch of shots. I can really see a similar script, not to mention the fact an underrated component of game 1, which didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Jokic fouled out. He got into some foul trouble in this game, in game 1. I can maybe see foul trouble being an issue at some point, but I'm looking at Jokic's points. I'm going to bring it up. It might not be the direction a lot of people thought I was going to go, but Jokic, I don't think needs to score to dominate the series. Everybody in Denver's starting lineup had double-digit points in game 1, and I do think you could see a similar story here for Denver, but Jokic hasn't had many huge offensive explosion games in terms of points. He can do it. I made a joke a couple months ago, once a month, he should try to drop 50 and just see what happens. But Jokic is at 22.5. Doesn't that seem a little bit high for a guy that doesn't exactly look to dominate through scoring all the time? 22.5 seems like a lot of points in a game we're leaning to the under, where Jokic might facilitate his way into a potential triple-double. I'm leaning to Jokic under in points.
All right. Let's see here.
Do you have any thoughts on that play?
No, I think it's straight. I mean, not really. So, Justin said Giannis. So, like every single metric and every single person that I've ever actually said keeps telling me that Giannis is not a center and he's just a power forward. So, I'm just gonna go with it. But
he doesn't play center on his own team because they have Brook Lopez, so I'm not counting Giannis as a center.
Yeah, Giannis has never been qualified as a center. I feel like that's why he said the question mark Giannis, but he's just never been qualified as a center. Like everybody just tell me he's not a center.
If we're going based on lineups now, I'd rather have Anthony Davis over Karl Anthony Towns. But once again, that's another.
He's not a center.
He's playing center right now. That's what I'm saying. So if you're going by lineup, you can make an argument that Anthony
is he even
Davis
playing center right now? Vanderbilt is still there, and they still kind of be.
Vanderbilt's not listed as a center.
I know he's not listed as a center, but you're saying he played. I don't think Anthony Davis.
Once again, it comes down to how many games you want to play at a specific position. If we're going by big men, just the category big men, Giannis is clearly the best in the league, in my opinion. But by center, by definition, through position, then I'd rather.
if you go to category of big men, then you add a whole bunch of other people to the conversation.
Also, Cat's not a center. Gobert's playing center.
Cat is definitely a center.
This is my point.
Played center majority of his career. Rudy Gobert comes from one season and he's not a center anymore.
My point is very annoying.
No way. No. I will not let y'all say Cat is not a center. There's no way Rudy Gobert comes from one season and Cat is not a center anymore.
My point is that you're looking at how people describe positions. A lot of it comes down to your roster construction because you're going to try to fit him into a position. Cat could play center. AD can play center. Giannis can play center. You can go down the line. Truth is, if you're 7 feet tall, you should be able to
allow y'all not to tell me Cat is not a center. He's been playing center every single year in the league except for this year because they got Rudy Gobert, who literally can't play any other position. No, you're not about to tell me Cat's not a center. He's literally
franchise with a really hot take. Franchise saying he'd rather take Vucevic over Cat.
Yeah, right. All right.
That just got really fascinating. Okay.
You
I
taking
like the
Vucevic
hot
over
takes
Cat?
though. I
You taking
really
Vucevic
like
over
the hot
Cat?
takes.
Are you taking Vucevic over Cat?
Offensively, no.
Thank you.
Actually, you know
All
what? In
right.
general, no. I'm
I
taking
mean,
Cat
I
over
mean,
Vucevic.
even
No,
defensively, like even
well, we were arguing
defensively.
offensively, so I made that point, and I'm like, wait, defensively, yeah, I'm taking Cat.
I'm like, what?
What am I talking about? Like, yeah, I'm definitely taking. I get that we're low on Cat, but
Yeah, like, come
I've been
on.
so low on
He's
Vucevic
just
for so
soft. Like,
long. Like,
he's
no,
just
I'm
soft.
not. No, I'm not taking Vucevic over Cat. Like, no, I'm drawing the line somewhere. That might be the line. Like, no, I'm not taking Vucevic over Cat.
I
don't like
just
Cat.
want to
I don't
know.
like Cat.
I
But
just
he's
want
more
you to know if you
talented.
trade Cat for Vucevic straight up, you won't have a job.
If you're trading Cat for Vucevic, you're getting like 2 first-round picks. You're
Like,
getting
come
like a
on.
first-round pick or
Like,
two.
you're no.
So
If
no,
you
I
if
think
you
Cat's
made the
better.
trade straight up Cat for Vucevic, you are not. You are going to get fired. Like, you will get fired. That is just pure fact. You will get fired. There. And
Cat's
mindful,
better
if
than
you
Vucevic.
on the other side, if you trade Vucevic for Cat straight up, you're probably getting a promotion. Like,
Probably. But once
like,
again, I'm not
come on
high
now,
on
let's be
Cat, but
serious. Like,
he's
let's.
better than Vucevic. Like,
Where's my drops?
I think Sabonis is better than Cat. I can make that argument, but that's a separate story. Talent-wise, I don't know.
You need to leave.
I like how we're having like a full like sound effect day. Did you like work on the soundboard or something?
Yeah, I did. I started.
I didn't even know we had a soundboard. Okay, cool. Jake
Alright.
asking, last one, Ayton or Karl Anthony Towns?
Come on now, like, come on. It's Cat. Like, if you're giving me two soft guys, I'm gonna take the soft guy that can actually score the basketball on different levels of the court.
I'm trying to think of other centers who are actually like really good at scoring. Like I can give you a defensive comparison, or just ask you Jared Allen or Cat because they're specialized in different areas. Miles Turner or Cat. Like I don't know. I'd probably pick Cat over all these guys. So that's how I'm looking at it.
I'm telling you, like, he's a really gifted scorer, guys. He's just soft. Like, that is it. Is purely it. Whether now, if you don't want a soft player, then I 100% understand you not taking Cat because he's soft. But we are not going to take away the fact that this man is gifted and probably can give one of your favorite players a bucket.
I'm just saying I think he's had a bad series, but I think I'd rather have Sabonis over Cat if I had to pick. At least Sabonis gives you passing and some other variables.
In pure scoring of the basketball, Cat will
scoring,
more
I
than
agree.
likely give your favorite player a bucket. Like, that is actually true. When Cat wants to go get a bucket, he is probably one of a few unguardable players in the league just because of his size and the skill set that he has. Like,
Yeah, he just never shows it
that's
off enough.
pure fact. Yeah, he just doesn't show it off all the time, and that's the reason why he's not one of the best players in the league, because he has a terrible mindset.
I mentioned Miles Turner just because I feel like Turner's kind of adjusted his game to play similarly to Cat's, where they just shoot a bunch of jump shots. But Cat's better, in my opinion.
Cat's
Turner
off the
gives you more
dribble.
defense.
Turner doesn't score off the dribble.
That's a fun question by JR. You taking Cat or Naz Reid? This went off the rails so fast.
I'm still scoring the basketball is still Cat. Scoring the basketball is still Cat. Like,
JR, I'm not going to count Siakam. Siakam, I'm not going to count because they
Siakam
literally
can
got
play small forward.
Jakob Poeltl solely because Siakam could not play center. Like I think that Siakam I'm not going to count, but still.
Yeah. Y'all are wild. Y'all, like, do y'all not?
I really love how this went so off the rails. I really appreciate it.
I don't know how you guys got me defending Cat in here, but it's not like everybody knows Cat is a gifted scorer. He's just soft. Like, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. All right.
No, Nick Real is not claiming that Gobert's a 4. He's claiming that Cat would be a center on any other team that does not have Gobert. That's
he was a center on his own team before Rudy Gobert got there. But all right, we're getting beside the point and we're running over on time. Any other props that you like in this game? I'm without saying, I'm on Cat over 21.5.
Edwards is tricky at 23.5 because I really do think that elbow or arm is bothering him and he's not shooting the ball well. Jamal Murray's at 22.5. Doesn't that seem a little bit high? I know he had 24 in game 1, but he had 24, 8, and 8 in game 1. I'm trying to think of what adjustments Minnesota's going to make defensively. I mean, do you think Murray's in line for another, like, 25-point game or something? I'm not sure if he's going to do that. That number seems a little bit high to me, in my opinion.
I mean, if you're taking away Jokic and any possible productivity Jokic has, then it's got to open up for somebody else somewhere, and I guess he would be the next guy up. I'm kind of thinking Aaron Gordon, but I don't
Like, 'cause
know
he had
what's
2
going.
three-pointers, and
I,
you know
I
what's weird? His point total's at 13.5. He actually had a pretty decent offensive game in game 1 because he made a couple of threes. He's still only at 13 points.
oh yeah, all right. Uh, I'll wait to see what happens with. I don't think Rudy Gobert is really in question of playing this game, but if he doesn't play, then I'll just go all in on Kyle Anderson again.
Any thoughts on Taurean Prince at 7.5?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's really cat or bust for me. I don't really
Alright.
like too much in this game. All right. That is it. On to lock and dog time. For my lock, I am going to. Which one of those unders did I lock in that I feel most confident about already?
Did you officially lock in both? Because you said you locked in Milwaukee
Yes, I
already.
did play both already. I just want to know which one I want to give out for the show. Uh, hmm. Let's give out the eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his toe. If you got him, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All right, Miami and Milwaukee under 219. That is my lock. For my dog, I don't have the adjusted line on Memphis, so I can't really give Memphis out as a dog right now. Let's go find a prop that can make it a dog for now. What's my favorite prop in that game? I can't remember.
In which game?
Oh no, I was really just talking to myself.
Oh, okay.
In the Memphis Lakers game. Let's see here.
Well, we didn't have Tyus props because you could have taken a double-double,
Um,
but we don't have that at the moment.
I don't want Sharon for 25. Bane can kind of be a little. I mean, he probably does score.
He's going to have to be the main guy that steps up, doesn't he?
All my guys are really like not listed that I really, really like, but
You going with like Luke Kennard threes? Is that up?
nope, it's not.
Okay.
Okay, maybe this isn't the way to go. So let's just fine. I guess we'll go a little baby dog because I can't really make anything up right now, and we'll go with Jared Vanderbilt over 5.5 rebounds. This plus 110.
Okay. So for my lock, I was contemplating if I wanted to do the same game or not on both because I kind of have a strong opinion about this Denver game. But you know what? You already gave out the Heat and Bucks. I like that under 2, but I'm not going to touch it because you already did. So I'll provide some other content for my lock. Give me the under in that Denver game against Minnesota. I see a 223 available on PointsBet. I'll take that. It's mostly 222.5. I still like the under there. I think it could be a balancing act where Minnesota's offense gets slightly better. The Denver's offense maybe still doesn't exactly look as great, or Minnesota makes some defensive adjustments. It's really the lack of pace. From what we've seen in playoff basketball with Minnesota in the 3 games they played against the Lakers, the Thunder, and the Nuggets, the main takeaway that I had was that the Timberwolves just want every game to be hideous to watch. They don't run. The half-court offense looks bad. They're just an under team. I'm on the under. Denver, once again, held them to 80 points in game 1. I don't see that happening again, but I can see a world where Minnesota scores like 105. I can see a world like that. I'm going with the under in this game. I think Denver does a good job defensively, mostly because of a lack of spacing for Minnesota, and with the fact that Anderson doesn't shoot that well. Cat's afraid to shoot the basketball. Edwards is injured, and Gobert gives you nothing offensively. And Conley's past his prime. They really just don't have enough offensive weapons for me. So give me the under in that game at 222.5 as my lock. And for my dog, I am going to go with a Denver alt line. Until I see something from Minnesota, I'm just expecting them to get buried. I'm going to treat this like the Hawks-Celtics series, where one team is just clearly better than the other team. And I think that you're going to end up seeing it once again in this matchup. So give me Denver on the alt line. I'm trying to find out what the best line I can get is. I'm going to eye 11 plus. So give me Denver minus 10.5 at plus 125. I think they win this game by double digits. I see a similar story to the Boston series. I think Denver defends home court comfortably in both these games. So my lock, give me Denver under for the game and give me the Denver minus 10.5 at plus 125 as my dog.
All right. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to the NBA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on Twitter. Well, follow us on Twitter at SGPN NBA. And you leave reviews on wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure you leave us reviews. Other than that, we have gone a little over on time again, but it's fine. Because I have nothing else to say, nothing else to do. No other way of ending the podcast. We're just going to end it like this. We are out of here.